So I've been working really hard lately between producing 3 episodes of this podcast a week, coaching my clients, building my business, and then writing the 3 books that I have coming out over the next 14 months. Really been putting my nose to the grindstone. I decided I'm going to buy myself a present. And what I really, really wanted was a high-end camera to video my next workshops, to do my lives, to basically just up level what I'm doing. I bought the software and bought some backgrounds and all kinds of stuff to really up level what I'm doing to present to the world. So I wanted a camera. I took a class with someone who does online presenting, learning to do that better, and he sent out a list of softwares that we can use. And I'm using this incredible Ecamm software, so I can do a lot more on Zoom or Live or any of the other Google Hangouts that I usually do. And I've learned how to work that. And then I needed a high-end camera to go with that. So I asked which is the camera that's compatible, which camera works out really well. And the cameras I got back were a list of Sony cameras, the Sony A-series cameras, really incredible. So I was told that this particular camera, the Sony A6100, was compatible with this software that I'm talking about that does all these cool things. But then I also saw the Sony 6400 camera, which was a little more expensive, and not too much different, but a little more expensive. Was available also. So I was hemming and hawing, which one should I get? Which one should I get? And I'm agonizing over the decision. Should I spend the extra $200 to go for the 6400 versus the 6100? I don't really do that much, so I don't need that much camera. So I ultimately settled on the Sony A6100 because this was what I was told was compatible with this software that I wanted to use. So finally, I get the A6, and I'm a little remorseful because there was a couple of features on the 6400, but I'm like, you don't need to spend that kind of money. You're good. Get the Sony A6100 camera. So I get the camera, and it's beautiful. So I go to hook it up, and the beauty of this camera that's supposed to be really good is it's supposed to hook up natively directly to my laptop into this software. No extra links, no extra converters, no extra muss and fuss. For 3 days, I'm trying to get this camera to work, and I can't get the camera to work. I watch YouTube videos. I ask questions. I ask people in the group that for this software, how do we make this work? How do we make this work? Finally, I go to support, and how do I make this work? It's 3 days. It's frustrating me. It's taking time out of my life. And of course, with my ADD, I'm not willing to make the videos until my beautiful new camera works. And if you're watching this video instead of listening to the podcast, still on my old webcam. And then I get back from their support after they look at the logs of my software that they don't support the A6100, the Sony A6100. They support the Sony 6000. They support the Sony 6300, the 6400, the 6500, but not the 6100. So the exact camera that I asked for help with in picking out does not work. So cue the victim mentality. And this is what the whole point of this whole podcast is. I did the research. I asked the experts. And we'll get to me doing the research wrong in a couple minutes when we take ownership of this. But right now we're in victim mode. I'm in childish mode. I've been waiting for this camera. I'm so excited to do some videos on this camera last weekend, and I can't get it to work. Can't make it work with the software. Don't know what's going on. I ask all kinds of questions, and nobody comes up with the fact that this particular camera isn't compatible with the software. You need a specific converter called a video capture card converter for this camera to work. And now I'm in a quandary. What do? Do I send back this camera and buy the 6400 for the extra couple $100 and not use the converter? Do I go buy the converter, which by the way is on back order for 2 weeks, maybe 3, so I may not even be able to use the camera until then. And my little monkey brain goes crazy. My inner child, my petulance, my resentment, my victimhood just goes through the roof And I'm so embarrassed because I'm like, this expert told me to get the 6100 and he steered me wrong. Let's not mention the fact they gave me all this time and helped me tremendously. All these people in the group were supposed to know. They didn't know that this wasn't compatible and they didn't do it. Why didn't someone tell me? Wah, 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 wah. And I got so victimy over the whole thing and so resentful that they did this to me. And now I'm like really wrapped around the axle. Now let's remember, I am 4 days into this, of this not being able to work, and I'm finding this out. Now I teach emotional intelligence. I teach ownership over a situation. I teach responsibility. If you listen to this podcast, I talk about it all the time. And here I am being a child. I don't want to send back the camera. I don't want to wait for a new camera. I don't want to wait for the refund so I can buy the new camera. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to wait the 2 weeks for the capture card to make this work. What do I do? Oh my God, what do I do? I'm talking to John, my partner, about this. And I said, just let me complain. Let me be a victim about this. And I'm just listening to myself complain. And I'm watching myself and I'm thinking, Mark, you're an adult. Mark, you teach responsibility. You teach ownership, victimhood, all this stuff. What are you going to do about this? So, of course, I finally sat down and to go do my meditation. And I sat down with pen and paper and I said, what gives? Why can't I get myself out of this resentment cycle, this resentment circle? I'm watching it. I know it's not useful. And then I start dissecting it. I start looking at my kind of inner kid, my petulance, and my disappointment. So the first thing I noticed was I was disappointed. That's okay. It's okay to be disappointed. I was sad. I put a lot of work into this, and I was disappointed. My resentfulness, I didn't do the research myself. I relied on other people. If I went and looked at the website and myself and looked at all the choices, I would see that that camera was not compatible, instead of relying on other people. So that resentment really is unfounded. I didn't do something for myself. Again, the sadness, I want it now. It's okay to have these emotions. And by the way, I'm telling you this now, I'm learning it as I'm writing it out for myself. I'm getting objective. And that's why pen and paper is such a good thing for something like this. When something looks like a brick wall, this resentment, this childishness that I'm seeing in myself, or when I decided, oh, there's gold in here, there's something for me to learn here, that's when I was able to bring myself out. Instead of being mad at myself for being mad at myself, instead of being mad at myself for being resentful in childhood, I was like, why is this stuck here? And then I realized, oh, first of all, I did not just allow myself the feelings of disappointment. I did not allow myself, the wanting of this to be simple and to work. And when around electronics, if your password's not working and it drives you crazy, anything around electronics. So then I started thinking about, all right, now how do I come up with a solution? And then I realized all the solutions I could come up with were unacceptable to this little kid, this little resentful, childish, disappointed kid. I didn't want to wait to send the camera back. I didn't want to wait for the new camera. What if the new camera doesn't work? I didn't want to wait for the video capture card. I didn't want to compromise all this stuff. So all the situations were, again, not to the rational adult, but to the guy who just wanted his little toy. I've been working really hard. I just wanted my toy. So when I started to look at that, I went, oh, I don't like any of the options. Again, why should I beat myself up for just having feelings around those things? And that's when it finally hit me that, emotional intelligence, acting professional, being an adult really has nothing to do with how I feel. I can practice getting through these feelings faster. I can practice dealing with them, but these feelings are going to come up and they're going to be triggered. And if you're listening to me and you're thinking that you never get childish, just have a fight with a teenager or have a fight with a spouse, and then watch your emotional intelligence go out the window. In this particular scenario, my emotional intelligence went out the window. But having emotional intelligence, being mature, being adult, being professional is not predicated on how I feel. So I can feel disappointed. I can feel like I don't like any of the options that are presented to me for the solution. And then I can choose to be the adult. I can choose to act. And as soon as I had that thought, and yes, I've been teaching this for years, and it just dawned on me while I had pen to paper, uh, is the solution for me, the acceptable solution showed up. Like in the instant that I figured that out, the solution showed up. And then what I decided was there are really cheap versions of that capture card that I talked about that make this actually work. That are available overnight. So tomorrow I'm going to be getting one of those capture cards, the cheap one, not the great one that will ultimately be my capture card if I decide to keep this camera. And I made the decision that if this capture card actually works, I'm going to buy the really expensive capture card, and this is the way I'm going to work it. And if it doesn't work and it's too cumbersome, then I'm going to exchange the cameras. And now I have my adult decision-making process. This is how I'm going to work through this. I'm going to be disappointed. I'm going to be wanting to work with this, but now I know what I need to do. Now I've made this decision. I ordered the cheapy capture card to see if it works. And now I realize that it doesn't even matter. The camera that's compatible with the particular software I'm buying it for is not compatible natively with Zoom. It's not compatible natively with my laptop. So it won't work with Facebook or LinkedIn Lives. It won't work with Google Hangouts. It's only going to work with this specific software. And I'm going to need that capture card anyway if I want to do anything other than work with this software. So now I'm relieved. Now I feel like I have a solution. Uh, but working through it was such a fascinating lesson for me in moving through those childish triggers that we all do. And again, I work through this with my clients all the time. My clients will call me up and an employee has triggered them. One of their team members has triggered them, or their ex-wife has triggered them. And all they want is revenge. All they want is something different. And to get them to a point of emotional intelligence, to get them to the point of being the bigger person, knowing that that's what they need to do. I'm talking CEOs, right? I'm talking really accomplished people. We can still have those feelings. It's not fair. I don't want to be the biggest person, and you can still pick up the phone and be the bigger person. Uh, so that's my lesson from the whole camera situation: is I can have all these feelings, and I don't even have to make the feelings go away before I decide to be emotionally intelligent, mature, professional, or whatever's called for the situation. I got to feel the feelings. I got to look them in the eye. Sometimes laugh at them. I love Kyle Cease. I'm really resentful about my camera, and I love that. That's Kyle Cease's thing. I'm this or that. I'm overweight, and I love that. Kind of makes you laugh at yourself. Hopefully, this is helpful. It was really helpful to me. It felt like a really nice insight on working through some of these things so that I can get to being my best self. Thank you for listening. If you like the podcast, please, please, please share it. Tell people about the podcast. Rate the podcast. Give me feedback. Let me know how I can help. I love you guys. Have a great rest of the day.